Donut worry, entrepreneurs are here. This is the Ignite Donuts podcast. I'm Chris,
I'm Casey.
and we're our hosts of the Ignite Donuts podcast. This is a really exciting thing we're starting. Times are a little turbulent like now. Not too many people are buying donuts where we normally sell. We can't sell, so we thought it'd be a great opportunity to start an idea we had that we've had for a long time, right, Casey? Doing a podcast. I think this will be an exciting way to talk about some things. And what we're going to talk about on the Ignite Donuts podcast is entrepreneurship. So you kind of had the idea for this. So why talk about entrepreneurship with a podcast? Like, why are we bothering to do this?
Yeah, for several reasons. I mean, we're in a developing time period in our lives, and the podcasts are actually a multi-purposeful platform for marketing. Not only can we market ourselves as our business, but our culture, which is more important than just the products that we do sell. So it opens the door for a lot of possibilities for guest viewers or guest participants to share their stories, and hopefully our goal is to connect other entrepreneurs with each other to build their business and build that foundation that we have done ourselves.
Yeah, we plan to have a very exciting list of things to do for this podcast. We're thinking of having things like this where we talk about our own experiences. That's what we're going to do today, is talk about experiences we have that surprised us in entrepreneurship and then what we learned from them. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Some other weeks we'll have interviews. We'll have other co-hosts who are entrepreneurs or maybe have impacted entrepreneurs. And sometimes we might just read like a news article or something. So it's really exciting. So first of all, this is the Ignite Donuts podcast, and we are part of Ignite Donuts. So Casey, why don't you give us a 60-second snap Cliff Notes, Spark Notes version of Ignite Donuts history and what we do.
Yeah, Ignite Donuts was founded about 2.5 years ago with a couple of my buddies, my former roommates. From there, we just wanted to start a donut business. We quickly learned the business aspect of how to develop a business, and that quickly led us to building those connections with the key partners and key resources that we needed to grow. From there, we found our investor, pivoted our idea a few times, and we landed within this past year with a donut kit, which is comprised of 6 warm donut holes with a 2-ounce container in the middle for dipping and glazing of the customer's choice. We currently are selling at CMU in one of the markets on campus, and we're looking to expand internally on CMU's campus, but externally off campus as well.
That's pretty good. I think you say it's 5 seconds. I think you were 55 seconds, so that's pretty good. Yeah, so that's Ignite Donuts. That's who we are. Now we're podcasting. Our position, we're both owners of Ignite Donuts. I'm a media officer, so this podcast is right up my alley, but I kind of touch on everything. And Casey, you're the CEO, so you touch everything, of course. So yeah, let's get right into it. Let's start talking about some entrepreneurship. And as Casey eats a delicious Ignite Donuts donut. Shameless plug, but we're wearing shirts, and so it's fine. So we're going to talk about things like an experience we had or something we learned through entrepreneurship that, like, taught us something that was impactful. So one thing that came to mind when I was coming into this is something I learned, which is a tough lesson, which something I think back on is that you develop a product as an entrepreneur, right? Like, we spend all this time working on this product, developing it, making it as perfect as possible, and then you just assume people are going to buy it. That's really what I thought. And I remember we were developing the donut kit, and we tested it, and we had 2 test sales, and it was really successful. And then you go to places like the football games or just daily sales, because we sell our donuts at the football games too, and they're just not what you expect. And I think that was a hard lesson for me, was you actually have to market really hard. Like, marketing is so important, and that was something I learned. I don't know. What do you think about marketing? I mean,
yeah, for our business model, I think that's extremely relevant and important. And so, like, I think it was interesting because I was getting my hopes up too.
Yeah, I know.
We
we're
sold
do this
out.
Thing, like.
Yeah, we sold out in our first test in one of the markets, and then we did even better in the second market. And then at the football games, we were selling 60 plus donut kits, which is pretty good for a day, right?
Yeah.
And so,
Right.
And it's not like we're not selling at CMU well. It just it's a lot slower of a growth.
Right. It's you have these smash opening successes, I guess, and then you get like to the daily grind, and you're like, oh, marketing's really important. And then I noticed too. So we try to post posters, we try to do social media posts, and a lot of the things we did make a difference on the sales. Like we did. We do monthly specials, and when we had a cool monthly special, it spiked up. And I think our February sales were up in large part because we did heart-shaped donuts with like a cherry glaze. Those were really successful, and that marketing campaign was very successful, and you could see the sales go up. It's like, wow, this marketing thing matters, and so I think it's a good lesson for any entrepreneurs. Like, making the thing isn't enough. You also have to sell it. Like, selling it is constantly in your head. And I think sometimes, at least I found, when we're in like the development mode, we forget that. And we kind of forget how the heck we're going to market the thing.
Yeah, and I think our biggest marketing aspect was actually hiring someone who does design. I mean, our positive growth of numbers from last semester to this semester, I think, is largely part due to just simple packaging labels.
Yeah.
Right. Never did I anticipate throughout the past 2.5, 3 years of being part of this business was labeling going to be that huge extra factor. Right. Like, you go into a grocery store in the bakery aisle, you don't care if it has fancy packaging.
Right, but suddenly when you're buying it off of in different contexts, it makes the difference, like.
And it might just be, our business model on campus needs a lot of marketing, whereas if it's in a bakery in the superstore, it won't matter as much because people are in that section for a reason.
Right. So, well, I think that's the thing too. I guess that's another lesson too. Is there's always competitors, right? And we have we're competing against a lot of other things. When someone goes to the bakery section in a grocery store, they're like, I'm gonna buy a donut, and they like don't care if it's And you even see some local bakeries, they don't have marketing at all. And however, they have a lot of credibility. And so I think that's something else we had to do with our business is establish that credibility. And I think that goes hand in hand with the marketing and hand in hand with like improved logos and stuff like that. Not logos, designs, labels. I mean, I think it just elevates it, and so that's something we learned too is,
Yeah, not only that, I don't think it limits us. Like, now we can actually sell in a supermarket.
That's true.
Versus, like a bakery that sells this with a lid on top of it and puts like a little Cops and Donuts sticker or something on it.
Right.
They're not going to be FDA approved. And so, regulated. Whereas we have all the ins and outs that we need.
Right. Now we're hopping through hoops, but the hoops actually get us somewhere where we can sell other places.
Yeah.
Which is something we still need to do.
Not necessarily, saying Cops and Donuts not having their branding is affecting their business. It's not. I mean,
right.
They have an audience already.
Well, yeah, and I think they have a branding in a different way. I was surprised. So I went to the Cops and Donuts here in Mount Pleasant. 50% of their storefront is merchandise. They sell like mugs. They sell like. So their brand identity is big, but it's like not traditional.
Yeah.
Like the donuts themselves aren't the brand. It's all the extra stuff they have.
Yeah. They have a culture.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. People buy into that culture, I think.
Yeah, and I haven't, as you know, I have experience with them.
Yeah.
I was an intern at Cops and Donuts my junior year, part of the entrepreneurship major. So it was actually a really good experience to build that relationship with a lot of the cops and their owners of the Cops and Donuts. And so like it allowed me to see like, oh, I want to do this for the next 10 years of my life, I think. Like I could see myself doing this and do it a little bit differently. But they actually provided valuable lessons for me. And so like some of the downfalls of daily operations of like when your POS system goes down and
Right.
trying to figure that out with a phone call to support IT system. So
Half a world away, right?
yeah, in India. So, but
Not the best. John from India.
yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, they just have, obviously a different model per se than we
Yeah,
do.
right.
And they have that location. We are just wholesale right now.
Right,
So,
right.
but it's really cool. I mean, you look at Robert's too. Their model is not necessarily just donuts. They sell donuts.
They do a lot of cakes and
They
stuff.
do cakes, yeah.
That's their big ticket item.
And they have that contract with the casino. So that's
big
the
money.
donut
That's
part.
big money. The Soaring Eagle Casino here in central Michigan area.
Yeah.
It's big player. Buy a lot of donuts.
Yeah.
So we just need to get that contract. We're good. Right?
Yeah, no, exactly. But it's really cool to like understand how
Right.
they try to cap into the market. They also do wholesale accounts. They
Mm-hmm.
they sell at they sell at the 7-Elevens and gas stations as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then you throw all like those two local bakeries, and then you have the Krispy Kremes and the Speedways. And
Long story short, there's a lot of
Yeah.
people who sell donuts.
yeah,
And
so-
then there's a lot of donut-like substitutes, like a milkshake or honestly anything is a donut substitute. Any food. Food's
coffee.
tough. Yeah, that's true. Coffee. That's
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
I mean, it's they work hand in hand. They're
Yeah.
comparable. So.
Those are comparable goods.
Yeah, but it's interesting, like, so going back to what you said about marketing,
Mm-hmm.
I did not realize how much we had to invest in there. And then it's not necessarily, we started this business to solve issues on campus because students weren't getting, late night snackable
Right, the
treats.
Right.
And so that's, I thought, the only problem we were solving. Then, we had all these marketing issues. Why aren't we getting enough sales? And, it's not like we have to reinvent the wheel. We didn't. We literally just need labeling.
Right.
And so
right.
it's so
like
interesting.
an ingredients label and like a nutrition facts on the bottom of our thing, I think goes a long way for credibility.
Yeah, people are talking about it. Word of mouth is the best and most reliable way.
That's the best marketing strategy
Yeah.
is word of mouth. There's your entrepreneurship tip of the podcast.
Yeah.
If you can get someone to talk about your product to somebody else, that is huge. That is so much better than anything else because people believe each other in person. Honestly, I feel like there's so much ad spewed at everyone nowadays. It's like people just drown it out. If it's like
Yeah.
your friend talking about donuts, that's something different.
Yeah, I mean, like, are you, as a person who's looking to lease a vehicle, are you more likely to go buy a car that a few friends have talked good things about?
Right,
Or
yeah.
are you gonna do it based on an ad?
Right,
That has all
right.
these hidden fees.
Right, yeah.
So-
Car ads are the worst.
Yeah.
They're literally the worst. But no offense if you do car ads. But cars are tough still. But yeah, I don't know. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Word of mouth. That's honestly one of the most satisfying things for me being part of this business is like I'll mention the donuts offhand and somebody I've never talked to before oh yeah, I know Ignite Donuts. I've
Yeah.
had them all the time. I'm like, hey,
Yeah.
we're like a real business.
Yeah.
That's a really cool thing whenever that happens, especially for someone you don't know. And then you start getting a conversation about what they think the next flavor of the month should be. It's a really cool thing.
Yeah.
That's my favorite part so far. Has been yes, people actually care. So.
No, it's rewarding for sure, especially putting literally all the blood, sweat, and tears into the business and
all three.
yeah,
Literal
getting,
four.
reaping those benefits.
Yeah.
And, that's all about building that relationship. As another tip of the day is which I'm learning my master's of entrepreneurship class is called leading nurturing, and it's literally just building that relationship to
Right.
constantly communicate with one another, and so where that customer is not only just aware about your product, but they are conscious and they're willing to make that
Right,
decision
right.
decision to purchase it.
Well, that's a good point because most ads are just knowing about it, but the nurture thing is huge.
Yeah, yeah.
So what? I kind of talk about marketing, the importance of marketing, and just because you make a product doesn't mean people will buy it. It's a tough lesson, and I'm glad I learned it. So my other ventures, I can always keep that in the back of my head. Be like, why would someone want to buy this? Not just did I create it and I like it. So what is your thing knowledge nugget that you've learned from entrepreneurship that really taught you something, I guess, you know?
Yeah, don't be just like a lot of motivational speakers are, don't give up. I mean, it's cliche, but it's true. Like,
Right.
if we gave up in any point of this business, we would literally not exist. So that's a big one. And then, from a legitimate business relationship standpoint, build connections. Talk to random strangers about it. Honestly, like, that's marketing in itself. It's word of mouth. But no, I'm really big on, as you know, like building those relationships. So, I don't see other bakeries as necessarily competitors. I see them as opportunities to learn and help each other out when you can.
Absolutely.
And it's not just the bakeries, it's the local government agencies and organizations that are here to help. Like, for instance, right now we are podcasting in the Mid-Michigan Developmental Corporation office, which we...
Thanks for the office.
Thank you, yeah. Which, at the new venture competition last year, we ended up winning some prize money.
Business competition.
And
we have a big check on the wall.
Yeah. And
it's huge. You can't see it, so you'll have to take our word for it, but it's there.
We got 2 of them, actually.
Look on the internet. It's on the internet somewhere.
Yeah. And so, we've been very blessed with having this space and building that credibility. But long story short, they're a great resource. Like, they've saved us over $1,000 when we wanted to sell downtown.
That's true. Hey, yeah.
So,
they were huge.
So, and they've helped us in other areas too, and just like the Chamber of Commerce and the CMURC and SBDC, all these acronyms are organizations that are willing to help young, enthusiastic entrepreneurs. And so that's where CMU comes in, and they bring the people.
Yeah.
And so,
yeah,
it's pretty cool. So, but I would say, if you're so passionate about an idea or a product, work on it. Be okay with the exceptions of it being pivoted.
Yeah.
Because what you start is not going to be what you end with. But in doing so, talk to people about it. Talk to your family and friends first. But talk to anyone. I think the biggest surprise I had in starting this business was the willingness people are, they're willing to talk to you. Other business owners that are not necessarily in your industry will talk to you about how they started their business. Managers will, students will, professors. Like, there's so many people that are willing to have a heart-to-heart conversation about your business. And, they'll try to give you the tips of how to actually run the business, and some be good, some are aware
Advice
of.
is like a gift.
Yeah.
You don't always have to, you know what I mean? You don't have to use it if it's bad.
Yeah.
Or if it doesn't apply to you. I think that's something I found. Everybody thinks they know what you should do for your business, and at the end of the day, only you can know what you should do for your business. So you have to, you receive all these feedback from these great resources, and then you collect it together. Like, what am I going to do with this?
Yeah.
I think that's a really big part of it, too.
It's the tough part.
That's the hard part.
Yeah.
Because everybody has an opinion about what you should do with your business.
Yeah.
That's just how people are. They're like, you should do this. But it's like figuring out which piece of those actually matter and will lead to success, I think, is another thing I found. Even with this business, I mean, people are like, oh, you should do this. You should, do delivery. You should, and then people who don't even really, you talk about it and they don't really quite understand it, they'll be like, just be like a local Starbucks in Mount Pleasant. It's like, well, it's not that easy. If we start selling coffee, we're going down a rabbit hole of competing with all the other coffee shops in town, and competing with McDonald's for coffee, and competing with Big B for coffee, and so.
Yeah. So out of curiosity, because how you joined on was you joined on to the business, and not, you weren't a founder per se. So
I'm not a founder.
From your experience though, that's a unique experience, and that's how most owners actually become, is that they join on. And so, you want to share some of your tips of your experience of the highs and low stresses of the business, and just other tips that we haven't mentioned, from your perspective, because your perspective is completely different from mine.
Well, I think the biggest difference for me was that when you're starting it, there's like this gradual climb. And so you have the experience, you know what's happened, you know where you are now. When you just jump into it, it's like a flood of all this stuff. And it's like, I don't know what's going on. And so it's, I guess it's something that was challenging for me, but I kind of learned how to do was to kind of like take it slow and be okay not knowing everything. It was tough because like there's things going on all the time. And like I honestly really didn't know why we were doing something or how we were going to do it or, you know, what the point of this was or even maybe even what the cost of goods sold of our donuts were. You know, I didn't know any of those things, but I was like learning every time we did something and every day. And I think the other thing too is that I really did try to always give it 100%. Like we had a lot of meetings. We went to stuff that didn't lead anywhere. We met people with kitchens. I don't know. That's like the first meeting I went to was to meet somebody who could have had a kitchen for us. That didn't go anywhere. But it was a really good experience. You know, we did events. And every time I did something, I just learned something new until I guess I knew everything about the business, you know? And so I guess if I could sum that up into one cohesive sentence, it would be just really give it 100% and be okay not knowing everything and then just be okay learning it slowly. I think that kind of sums up my experience. And, you know, by the end of the semester and we were done doing the venture competition, I would say I had a really pretty good grasp on everything. But before that point, it was a pretty gradual climb. MVC helped too, the new venture competition. You have to do financial information, you have to do business summary. And I think being in that competition too helped a lot, which not everybody will have that competition, but, you know, that environment is all about knowing your stuff. Yeah. And so I think that helps too. But I mean, there's a lot of questions on NBC. I was like, I don't know, and you had the answer. So the judges would ask you, like, I don't know what the margin of this stick of butter is for this dozen donuts, but you did. So, yeah.
Well, there goes to show you, like, that's why it's important to have, like, teammates.
Right, yeah, I think.
Like, it's pretty hard to beat Elon Musk, you know? Like, who knows?
Elon Musk had teammates.
Yeah, sometimes. He had teammates, you know, but, like, he knows everything about that business.
That's
like,
true.
from the inside and out, and he's taught himself the mathematics of it,
well,
too.
He says he's the lead engineer for SpaceX. This guy, he worked with PayPal. He's not a rocket engineer, and yet he's taught himself all these things. But he's a prodigy, and I hate to say it, but most of us are not prodigies. I'm not a prodigy. So.
But, I mean, if you're determined, going back to what we were saying, if you're determined with your idea or product or passion, whatever,
or joining another idea if you're passionate about that vision and that idea.
Yeah,
you know,
it goes somewhere, and you know, like it's kind of similar, but not really. Like we learned about payroll a couple months ago.
That's true.
And I did develop a whole month of payroll of learning how to do
down
it on our own.
The federal government, state government, local government taxation.
Yeah, and you know We solve one answer to one problem, and we've come up with 10 other problems.
Right.
And so I'm sure that's what he's done too. But he said one of his sayings. It's not a quote per se. I'm paraphrasing it. Elon Musk. I'm talking about is
I got you.
That if he works 80 hours in a week, he's gonna get the same amount of production within half a year, and so he's probably delving into every topic that he can humanly know about. That's what Einstein did. That's what Thomas Edison did. You try a billion different ways, and you figure out, a small portion or one way to solve the answer. But it takes a long time to do it, and it takes a lot of avenues to get. You might solve a math problem, but you might have to do it by, solving English. I don't know, right? I mean, there's barriers.
Yeah. Well, I think the big thing is, progress is an incremental thing. I think it's a big thing too. I think as entrepreneurs, we're like, I have this brilliant idea for this amazing donut kit, right? And then I think our vision for the donut kit was customized labeling from the start. It was, different flavors from the start. It was all these things from the start. But when we started selling, we couldn't do those things.
Yeah.
And we're moving in that direction. And I think it can still be improved a lot. Even the donuts themselves can be improved a lot. But progress is an incremental step, and being okay with that incrementalism and letting yourself pause and be like, we made a lot of progress, but we're still getting there. Yeah, because I guess you talked about Thomas Edison. People asked him back when he was still alive, obviously. It's like, were you mad that you tried those thousands other ways to do a light bulb? And he said no, because I learned something each time I failed. So I think that's a big thing. I guess that's a big thing, is don't give up. I think that's a common thread in our story.
It's a principle.
Yeah, I mean, you really don't give up. Although, I mean, if the idea is terrible, then you can pivot, and that's okay.
Yeah, pivoting is different than giving up.
That's true.
It's like you're still passionate about the idea that you're moving forward. You're not moving backward. You're moving forward.
Always move forward. Yeah, I think that's a big thing.
And you don't need to be a business owner or entrepreneur to have that principle.
Right. Like, you can do anything.
You know, you could work in HR and try to move up in the chain of ladder, or just try to do the best job you can and still have that principle. So, could be an athlete, could be a musician, doesn't matter. Like, the principle is important.
Right. I totally agree with you.
Yeah.
I think that's a great place to end off. Don't give up. That's the message of Ignite Donuts Podcast, episode 1. So I think we're going to wrap things up. So this podcast, again, we're going to be coming out on a weekly schedule. Not sure what that is. Stay tuned to Ignite Donuts social media. We're Ignite Donuts on Facebook. One word, Ignite Donuts. You can also visit our website, ignitedonuts.com. You can also feel free to add this podcast to the RSS feed. We're going to have a lot of great entrepreneurship content coming out. If the pandemic stops, we'll hopefully have guest hosts. If it doesn't stop, we'll just be reading some really great news articles.
Yeah.
But whatever we're doing, it's going to be about entrepreneurship, and hopefully you've learned something. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. This is Chris signing off.
This is Casey.
Thanks. Ignite Donuts Podcast.